We started about 99 of us, and this year we graduated just 16 of us out of 99. Many went away, many gave up, others are still carrying over courses that they still need to validate. Why? Because that passion was not there. But the moment the passion is there, everything or every challenge that we face, we are going to make sure that we put the effort that is necessary for us to overcome those challenges. Another thing I will say to those who want to enter the market or want to enter this field is that it is hard work, and you should make sure that you have the aptitude and the attitude.
My name is Etoke. I am a certified independent translator. My passion for languages and cultures prompted the creation of this channel with the purpose of educating, informing, and sharing my experiences in Canada. Here we discuss practical realities about life in Canada revolving around integration, finances, immigration, news, tourism, retirement, investment, business, law, and publicity, amongst others. If one of these topics interests you, 1. Subscribe, and 2. Hit the notification bell to be informed about latest publications, the goal being to raise awareness about trending issues in Canada. Good morning, good afternoon, good day to everyone. We are back again on this podcast, which is called My Journey, My Experience, and Your Inspiration. In French, Mon parcours, ton expérience, mon inspiration. The podcast, as you know, is a podcast that is out to talk about the profession of the translator and interpreter. Give what we face as translators, what we live every day. And by so doing, we invite here every week or twice a week, a translator or an interpreter who will tell us his experiences, his academic background, and what prompted him, first of all, to to become a translator or an interpreter. So today we have a special guest, and he's called Esame John. So he will present himself. Good afternoon, good evening, Mr. Esame John.
Okay, good evening, sir. And I would want to put in words my joy and gratitude for this wonderful opportunity to have this tete-a-tete, which is an enormous endeavor for translators, for them to actually understand what is going on in the field, and also for the young ones who are actually coming up. So as a translator, I will start by introducing myself. I am called Esame John, and I am a degree holder of a bachelor degree, a professional bachelor degree in translation and intercultural communication at ASCII. And initially, I never actually had this in mind, that is the translation profession as something to actually follow. But because of the love for the language that I saw in my grandmother, who is actually my mentor right now, I actually decided to delve into this field. When I remember still around Form 2 here in Cameroon, I had other aspirations, for example, becoming either a farmer, that is someone who owns large plantations and actually rear animals. But my grandmother took me in when I was around Form 3. And when I arrived her home, I saw that she had a lot of books, and not just books in English or French, but she had also books in different languages, other languages. So this got my attention, and I started studying Russia. That is where she saw my zeal, she saw my desire to actually know language and study. She proposed to me that I should actually go into the field, and that is how I focused on translation till I arrived at the University of Boya, and I applied for the program at ASCII, that is a degree program that just started at ASCII, and we are actually enrolled in the batch that was actually a second batch of that program, and it is actually a very young program at ASCII. which has different language combinations. But initially, as a student, I had to choose English and French because those are the basic languages that are used at ASCII. Then we were supposed to choose a third language, which I did. And from Arabic, Chinese, Spanish, and German, we had to make a choice, and I made a choice to choose actually Chinese as my third language, and that is how I started the journey as a student translator. And this year, I actually finished my program, and I am now following my master's degree at the same school that is at sea. I just wrote the entrance exam, which I actually passed with language combination English, French, and Chinese. And we are actually the first batch with this combination at ASCII. But for the degree program, we're the second batch. We're the second batch because the degree program, that is the bachelor's degree program, is still a young program. I think 4 years now or so. Yeah, 4 years or 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. So we're the second batch for that combination for the bachelor's degree. And for the master's degree, we are the first batch for English, French, and Chinese.
Okay. I have interesting questions for you. And the first one would be to understand the degree program that has been launched at ASTI, because when I was schooling in ASTI at the time, I left ASTI in 2013, there was no degree program. We were only getting rumor that there will be program that will be coming up for the younger ones as a degree program. So we will have a lot of discussions to talk about in that area, and also the combinations that you mentioned, because from time immemorial, all English A's had just 2 languages. It was difficult to see an English A with 3 languages. So it's interesting to know that there's something that's changing, and you will tell us exactly what is happening at the degree level to bring us to this end where we the young translators get into a master's program with 3 languages. So for now, I want to know any experience so far, even if it's indirect, in the field of translation?
Yes, I've had some few experiences, but let me just say local experiences, yes, in translation. The first experience was a denial to accept a work, that is a translation work. That was still during my degree program, when I was following my degree program. I think when we were on the 3rd year, because it's a 4-year program. When we were at the 3rd year, there was this lecturer who came, and he was not actually from ASCII. He came and he met us at the entrance to ASCII and asked us if we are studying at ASCII. We said yes, and he told us that I and my mates, we were about 3 of us. He told us that he wanted us to translate a document for him, a page or so, and it was kind of a scientific document. And since we were still young at that stage, we had to decline and refer him to some master's students, and that is how we actually lost that opportunity, simply because we did not see ourselves fit to actually go into that job tax. Then during my last year, I had some few works on translation. I translated a document of 28 pages for my aunt. My aunt, she's in an NGO, and she actually needed some documents to be translated. So I took that upon myself to do, and it was just like I was just doing, let's say, just to help or so. So I did the job, and she was very happy. That was one. And the other jobs were just simple translation tasks, that is to translate flyers, because I'm into graphic designing also. I'm into graphic designing, so I have several of my mates who do not actually understand French. And sometimes when they create flyers, the owner of that flyer or the client will actually desire the flyer to be created in 2 languages. So it's one in English and another in French. So I've had such tasks, I think, about 5 to 7 times. So those are just the few tasks that, or the few experiences that I've had in translations. But to say I am actually into the field full time, I wouldn't say so.
So, what is happening at the level of your training to guide you towards the job market? Let's say, most of the translators that get out of ASTI and other schools of translation in Cameroon generally have their jobs internationally. They have they integrate some platforms and they are able to walk around with experienced translators to be able to win some jobs. Do you have any course, or do you have in all through your studies any guidance on how to be able to cope in the labor market when the time comes, when you graduate finally?
First, the aspect of the third language combination at the degree program is already an indicator of that aspect, because in Cameroon, most of the times we actually know that the language combination is English and French. But if you actually want to go international, you will have to actually have another language that will actually help you to actually get a wider audience or so in the world. Considering the third languages, we have Chinese, Arabic, we have Spanish and German. These are languages that are used in international organizations. And with these three language combinations, it will be very easy for someone or a translator to actually get a job. But with a translator who has just two languages, there is two work languages, that's English and French, will be very difficult. So the third language is already an advantage. Then we have courses on intercultural communication. And with intercultural communication, they make us to be aware of the differences in culture, the Western cultures, the countries that are in the Western cultures. They make us to actually understand the culture and how to relate with such people. So they actually prepare us with such courses so that at the end of our program, we will be able to relate with people from different cultures, so that when we meet such people and some differences, will not have what we call cultural shock. Okay, cultural shock is the difference that you see in another culture that is very different from your culture, and it is kind of shocking to you. So they prepare us for that, and they have actually enriching programs for that purpose.
Yeah, talking about culture, a translator must, I call it as a must, be versatile to accept a different culture. If a translator is not flexible with cultures, it'll be very difficult for him to actually translate. You talked about the cultural shock, so it reminds me of when I came to Canada in 2015. Generally, the first thing you see is a shock, and usually it's a cultural shock that you see. People telling you Cameroon is, they don't first of all know Cameroon, and they tell you Africa is a country. And first of all, the weather itself is a big shock. You're coming from a zone which is hot, and you're directly into winter, which is minus 30 sometimes, and it's actually shocking. And you see the type of things people do, the rights that some people have, the kids and the rest. Are very important things to know. If you delve into that culture and you don't know those things, you may have problems on translating. For instance, here a child of 14 years can do a lot of things when he goes to the hospital or when she goes to the hospital. She has a lot of the parents can't tell them what to do in some aspects. Imagine you're translating a text. For you, you'd see that it's a minor, so normally that kind of instruction will not be, a child cannot do such a thing because in your culture, it's not happening that way. So I was just bringing this to make people understand that culture is very important in translation, and I actually appreciate the fact that you guys are starting it at the degree level, because most of us who started with the master's level, we didn't have any course on cultural. We just had to understand that culture is important and had to respect it. But you guys living from there,
gives you an advantage when you get to the master's program and be able to translate and relate very well with different cultures. So I just wanted to appreciate that. And then we will now talk about. Thank you for telling me about your experiences. Those experiences, we will exploit them, because even if you have been a translator, an occasional translator, you've seen other colleagues translate. You've related to other people or professionals who've been translating it. So I'll have to ask you questions concerning that. You give me opinions about them. Now let's look at your degree program. How is it structured? We're just getting about the degree. I didn't know it's 4 years. How is it structured? And let me know. Do you start translating from year 1, year 2, or you just do general courses?
Okay. As I said, it's a 4-year program. And with what we understood and what the director made us to actually understand, the director of Merci, he said that the program was created so that they would have students who are actually ready, or students who already have a base, okay, in the field of translation, so that when they enter into the master's program, they will not face a lot of difficulties. And because most of the times they just take students from several fields. A student who did journalism can come and do translation. A student who did history, a student who studied just anything, so long as you just pass the entrance exam without any base in the field. So it actually prepares young people who already have a baseline to actually enter into the master's degree and do well. And during the first year, they introduced us to courses like anthropology, intercultural communication, as I said. They introduced us, let me just say, the 2 basic languages that are required, that is English and French. So we have courses on English and we have courses on French. And we have several other courses like media, courses on media, courses on literary studies, and courses on linguistic and African languages. Yeah, so during the first year, they introduced us to such courses and built us up. So it's until we arrive the second year that they introduce us into translation. The second year, we'll be doing translation, introduction to translation, and also introduction in interpreting with other courses like professionalism in translation and just many other things. Then in the last year, which is the 4th year, students now will decide to specialize in one field, either translation or interpreting. Either translation or interpreting. Though at the end, we will have the same degree, that is a professional BA in translation and intercultural communication. But at the last year, students will have to specialize either in translation or interpreting. So the students for translation will just do courses concerning translation, English and French into English, do courses about editing, language use, and so on. While students who did interpreting, like I, who went into the field of interpreting to specialize there, we do courses like community interpreting, simultaneous interpreting, public speaking, and just so many things. So that is just how the program is arranged. While from the first year through the 4th year, we would maintain our 3rd language. That is what we study as 3rd language, whether Spanish, Arabic, German, or Chinese. We maintain it till the end. So that is it for the program.
Yeah, so thank you for giving me all these details. It's very essential to have this information because many do not know. I was in ST, but I didn't know how the program looks like. So you are like opening my eyes, and not if you're opening my eyes, you can imagine what you're doing to the younger ones coming in, that will be coming up. So that brings me to a question: what is translation and what is interpreting?
All right, translation basically it is a communication or the rendering of a message from one language to another in written format. That is translation. While interpreting, it is a rendering of a message from one language into another orally. orally, that is done with spoken words, and there's just a lot about it, but there's the basic definition about translation and interpreting. Though you can translate in the same language, you can still do translation in the same language, you can still do interpreting in the same language based on the language register. There's a language register, so it just depends, but it's simply the rendering of a message from one language into another, that is translation from one language into another in written format, or in the same language, which might be due to differences in language register, or which is done in written format, while interpreting is the rendering of message from one language into another, or in the same language, which is done orally. So that is just a big definition and difference.
That helps me a lot and opens my eyes. You know, you are the first interpreter we have here on the podcast, and it's always important to have our colleagues who are interpreters to tell us their version of things, to give us more light on what is happening. If I had this opportunity at a degree level of doing what you did as translation and interpreting from the base, I think I'll have gone to for interpretation, because most of the things we face when we skip from one specialized area into translation is that we are kind of skeptical. It's not that we don't have the that zeal, or we don't have that competence of interpreting. It's just because of the fear of the unknown, because we don't know if I go on if I'm in a conference, how will I be feeling? I'm feeling free to speak in public. You know, those are things that scares you. But sometimes you find yourself blocked, and you are bound to interpret for somebody, and you see it flow. You see yourself flowing, but you ask yourself, if it's in a professional setting, will I be able to do that? So I just wanted to. So we'll talk about it more at the master's level, because we've not had any interpreter coming as for the master's level to talk about the experience you guys live. So we'll have opportunity maybe to talk a bit of it. I know you just came in. Maybe you're seeing some few differences already. You have the opportunity to tell us. So let's look at. I was asking the question before we even delve into those. First of all, I want to know. When you're starting your language, the third language that you're adding to the course, is it obligatory at your level? That's at the degree level? And when you do it, is a 1 year enough to master a third language? Because we know with our colleagues of the French, who are French A, they sometimes start the third language in secondary school, and they grow up with it, and so they have the good mastery of it. And when it comes to their master's program, it's quite easy for them to be able to cope. So I just want to answer those. First of all, the part, if you've understood. Anyways, if you have any questions, we can still go back.
Consider that with the third language, it's possible for you to be at the first year and actually you master the language at a certain level. Just like you said, especially with the Francophone students, because with the Francophone system, they have these languages incorporated in their curriculum. Yeah, but most of them, they come in just with some basic knowledge. Yeah, it would only be those who have taken private classes or individual classes. But with the way the program is at ASC, if you just want to follow the program at ASC, there's a degree program, you cannot actually master the language in 1 year, because we have other courses that will take your time. So that third language, let's say twice a week, that you can have classes on the third language, twice a week. And sometimes you are not wide, because the teachers are very few, and they are supposed to teach, let's say, level 200, level 300, level 400, level 500. That is 4 different classes, and perhaps masters. And some of these teachers, we had challenges, especially with Chinese, because the first year, we did nothing, because we had just one Chinese teacher, and this teacher was very busy, and we had him just for the first semester. Then during the second semester, he just traveled out and went to China. So even during that first semester, he was very unstable, coming to Boya, going back to Yaoundé and other places. So with that, it was very difficult for us. But now we have 2 teachers. And with these 2 teachers still, it is very hard to actually have all the classes that we are supposed to have throughout the semester. Yeah. So it is not possible with the system. Actually, you are just following the days and the courses or the classes that you're supposed to have. It's not possible to master the third language in 1 year. But it is possible after 3 years, I believe so. Possible after 3 years, you master it at a level that you can understand, you can communicate freely. It's possible after 3 years.
Okay, yeah, you've answered the question very well. Now, looking at any course that guides you towards the labor market, is there any course like entrepreneurship or something that guides you on how to become a freelancer in school at the degree level?
All right, yes, there are courses on that. I think we had a course on translation and professionalism, something like that. Yeah, we had a course on that, and they taught us a lot in that course. They taught us about entrepreneurship in translation, and they made us understand the concept of translation agencies, cabinets, and so on. And they were actually even made us understand how to actually create an agency, and actually the tax are supposed to pay to the government in the Cameroon context. Yes, they actually taught us a lot on that, and they also made us understand that graduating with our degree program, we can start up an enterprise, a small organization that could be an agency. If you're so busy or you don't want to translate, you can be someone who take what people want to be translated. That is, you're the one who connect the clients to the translators. So you collect the works, the works that are to be translated. You have the works, then now you look for the translators who will do the work, and while they are doing the work, you will have your own stipend from the payment that they're going to receive. So they made us understand this concept. They also made us understand the concept of freelancing in translation and interpreting, that you can decide to go as a freelancer. That is, you are at your comfort zone, that is your home, wherever you are, and you're working for people, you're working for international organizations, and you're just there. And they also made us understand the concept of actually working in an NGO or in an organization. Yeah, they made us understand the difference that actually exists between a freelancer and someone who is actually working under an organization, and so on. So we had a lot on that. You actually opened our minds on actually what the market offers there and what we can actually choose to delve into.
Okay, good. That is what I wanted to hear. So there's kind of a base, and you're not just like moving blindly. And especially when you do get through your master's program, you have a plan. So can you tell us your plan? What do you expect, or what do you plan to do immediately you get your master's degree? What is your strategy to in the labor market?
Okay, right now I am following, as I said, my master's degree, that is translation, and I have started working with some friends actually to create a kind of an organization, but it will not like be a big organization. Start like somewhere to create a group of translators who will actually work together, and perhaps why not be like an agency, okay, people who will have jobs and actually give to other translators who, and we can also do this especially for those who are just starting, so that they'll actually experience what is in the field. We can do it. We had now planned that after finishing with masters, or while we are going through the program masters, and we have some translation works to be done, we can take those works and give them to, for example, the students doing the bachelor's program, and they try and translate, while we now, or other translators now, we edit their work, give them a little stipend that will even help them perhaps to even take care of a lot of things concerning schooling, because it's very challenging for some students, and they thereby will actually have experience on translation, so that when they come into the field itself or come and study for the master's program, they would actually have some good knowledge, not just the little translation they do in school, but they will actually be translating real work or real documents that have been given by people. But my personal plan is that's just for the group that we are actually forming. My personal plan is that after this, I will go into the masters in interpreting, because my love or my focus, the one I love the most, is interpreting. But I want to be both, have both certificates as actually translator and interpreter. Thereafter, I am going to actually focus now on building myself, which I've started building my online presence, so that I will be an effective freelancer, even if I am not working under an organization. I am opportune to have many mentors who are in many organizations where I can actually work. Someone who works in an organization, but I don't want to be limited, because it is so limiting. It's so limiting actually for you to work under an organization and they have put a particular price or a particular salary that they pay you each month. Whereas as a freelancer, you can do more than that. You can have more than what they're actually giving you. So I am focusing on that. Then I will therefore create my own organization, which will be based on not just translating, but also bringing up teaching translators in English, basically English, French, and Chinese. So one of my plans is to further my educations in Chinese. While I'm doing all this, I further my educations in Chinese, make sure that I have a solid ground in Chinese, that I can actually put this knowledge into the younger generation so that they too can benefit from it. So that is just how I've planned it. So from my group, we have our group plans, have my personal plans after translation. Thereafter, I'm going to focus on creating my own NGO where I am going to be teaching others in what concerns translation, that is English, French, and Chinese.
It's quite a rich plan you have. It's quite very big, and I appreciate that. You've mentioned, so it means that you are actually studying for a master's program in translation right now, and you want to become, after that you would apply to become an interpreter. That's a second master's in interpretation. Okay, so you want to have both, which is good too. You have a long way to go with school. And obviously, if you are planning on teaching, it means that very soon you'll be talking about a PhD program, normally. Yeah, because it goes with it. Because I see your ambitions is about teaching, which is really a laudable initiative too. Translating, teaching, and interpreting, creating a company, which is good. The question that I wanted to ask, which you have really answered in some way, is I wanted to know, how do you perfect your third language? And you mentioned that you would want to perfect your Chinese, which you're doing now. I don't know if you want to travel to China to perfect it, because I think that's the best way to perfect your third language. If somebody's doing Spanish, I think going to Equatorial Guinea, which is just beside Cameroon, would be the best thing to do. So is that what you're thinking?
Apart from just the studies that we are following here at ASCI, we have the opportunity to take part in several competitions that are organized by the Confucius Institute in Cameroon in partnership with ASCI. So with such program, you advance your knowledge in Chinese. You also have the opportunity to gain scholarships. So I have been engaging myself in several programs in Chinese, apart from what we study in school. And one of the most recent one is a speech contest that we had that was in commemoration to the Chinese Day. And I went for that speech contest, and I actually took second for that contest. And you were asked, or we were actually asked to tell our stories, our journey in Chinese, everything that we had encountered, and just present it to the school, to the Chinese people who came. And it is just so wonderful. So that is just an example of things that actually make one to advance their language. And as you said, scholarship is one of the essential one that I'm actually following. Yeah, scholarship. So I am thinking that if I have this scholarship, I might decide to go and follow now my interpreting in China. That is in interpreting aspect in China, not actually in ASCII. So I am planning on that, so that by the time I am getting my master's in translation, and if I successfully have a scholarship to go to go to China, I will go and follow down my education there to have a master's in interpreting.
Okay, good. So we will skip this area. You made mention of the fact that you are a graphic designer. I will keep it for after this next question that will come up, because it's essential as translators not just to be focused on one area. It's always good to be diversified. But I already see you have a very big scope when it comes to specialization. So graphic design, I would want to ask you, how do you intend to manage all of this? Teaching, interpreting, translating, and doing graphic design.
Okay, it is actually very challenging, but you know, with someone who has a love for something, you just do everything for that thing. You will do everything possible, put your energy for it. It is actually something I love doing, and I love teaching. I actually, apart from my studies, I actually teach in many forums, in many places where I have put some commitments. So I am basically a teacher in most of the places I find myself. So that is something I love. And with graphic designing, it is just something that I use to support myself and support myself in education. It's not like something that I actually love or actually want to further myself into. Yeah, it's just a skill that I have. But I try so much to make sure that I put everything according to its priority, and I would not go for graphic designing if I have an opportunity to choose. Perhaps I say time, I will not go for graphic designing when I have something that concerns translation, because that is my main focus, that's my main goal. And I will not go for something that concerns teaching, which is out of translation. It will be easy if it is something concerning translation, because that is my priority and that is where I'm actually going to. So all those other things, the teachings and the graphic designing skills, just some things that I use also in the field of translation. Yeah, so it is actually incorporated in translation, added values in the field of translation. So they are not actually kind of too separate, or I'm doing graphic design for this purpose, teaching, for example, teaching history. No. So, but I make sure that I try to link those skills to the translation domain.
Okay, so thank you for that. We will now delve into the next question, which is all about what impressed you when you were doing your degree program, and what did you find difficult even at this moment?
One thing that actually impressed me while I was going through my degree program is especially what concerns the third language, that is Chinese. Yeah, I had no base on it. I had no knowledge on it. I did not even know how to say ni hao or yes or hello or whatever. I didn't have an idea, so I was kind of blank. I went for Chinese because I knew, first of all, that it is a language that has a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
And my grandmother, who is my mentor also advised me to go in for that, because with Spanish, a lot of people know Spanish. Anyone can just, yeah. German the same. Arabic too. Arabic is also Arabic is has similar values with Chinese, but the Chinese language was my choice, and it was very difficult at the onset. I remember when I started my first results for the first semester, I had a C, and most of my mates were top, and it was just so discouraging and very difficult. But because of the love and the passion, I had to put more time, more energy on that third language, and due to that, I put a lot of energy and I became the best in my class. And I think from the second year, I started having, I think there was a time, my total marks for the CA and the exams were, there was a time that was 99 on 100, and the teacher was like amazed, 99 on 100. So that was the challenge I faced at the initial stage, but I was able to overcome that challenge. Another thing I saw as a challenge or a little difficult was the interpreting aspect. With interpreting, it's not as easy as people might think. We just thought they had given us introductory knowledge on interpreting the second year, the third year. But now for the fourth year now, you are actually doing it as somebody who is studying at the master's level. They actually put that pressure on you so you actually get prepared for that master's level. So we arrived there and there were just some orators, some people you listen to, they'll just play some presidents of some countries that their accents are just very different from yours, and the speed level also of some speakers. So while listening and trying to interpret, sometimes you break, sometimes you are off, sometimes you just like you cry, and it was very, very challenging. But that is actually what the training program actually presents to us. We just need to overcome those challenges, put more effort, and actually do better. So those are the two main things that I think was kind of challenging to me: the third language as Chinese and the interpreting aspects.
Talking about challenges, I will focus on challenges, and then we'll talk about what you liked or what you loved about your period while you do your degree program. You made mention of interpretation. It's very interesting to know what is happening in the minds of an interpreter. So when you are blocked, because I think you can even panic, you know, when it's a big conference, you can panic. What happens if you really feel that you can't go an extra mile because it is becoming very difficult? What comes to bring you up life to make you overcome this challenge of interpreting, especially when it comes to interpreting for important personalities?
Okay, with this, first of all, the program is made in such a way that prepares you to actually face those challenges in the field. There are techniques that we are given to actually overcome those challenges, but it's very important to note that interpreting is not just like translation where you can meander your way around and perhaps escape. We're interpreting even if during the concours, you come for the entrance exam. Actually, concours is in French, the entrance exam in English. When you come, you actually face the teachers themselves, the professors, those who will teach you, and they are there, they listen to you, they ask you, they are kind of in a panel, kind of, the hall is just like a conference hall itself, a conference hall in a panel, and they evaluate you. And if you're not good, even if the Ministry of Education, of Higher Education had put that, okay, they needed 20 people, and they just had 16, like the case of this year, 16 or 15 people who can do it, they'll just take those 15 people. But with translation, I think they'll try and make sure that they reach the amount, even if the 100, if it's in translation, they needed 120 people for the program, and just 100 people are actually good. They will try and fit in the other people who are not good to finish up that number. So that is what we have in interpreting. In fact, two of my mates who did translation during the degree program that we just finished, they went for the interpreting entrance exam, and lo and behold, they failed. So it is a field where they test you first your aptitude, the way you carry yourself, if you're capable to carry on. But if you're not capable to carry on, they'll just tell you good and fine, just perhaps redirect you. Then, while studying, there are several strategies that we use, especially when there are some words that we don't understand. What they advise us is that you should understand the concept of what the person is saying so that you can reformulate it in any way. You can reformulate it in any way. They train us on public speaking, how to speak in public, how to carry yourself when you are in front of any kind of personality. So whether it be the president, whether it be a farmer, whether it be a military person, whosoever, we are being trained for that. And we are actually trained in an environment where all the equipment that you use in the field are present. We have the booth at RC, the booths that the interpreters use most of the times in the conference halls, example, the assembly and many other places. They have what they call a booth, a kind of enclosed cubicle where you are there and the machine is there, the mic is there, you have the headset, everything is there. Your mates are there, the teacher is there, they're listening to you, they play the audio, they're listening to you, you're interpreting, everyone is quiet. So the atmosphere is just very similar to what you face in the field. And if you are able to finish the program, that shows that you were able to actually pass all those challenges, you were able to actually show yourself capable to exercise in the field, then you are going to be granted the master's certificate.
Thank you very much for elaborating on that. Yeah, like you said, it's a translator can use his time to adjust things. Meanwhile, an interpreter, he's there and he has to find options of resolving whatever problem he has immediately. So let's talk about cash now. You're in the field of interpretation. Do you think a translator or an interpreter who is in Cameroon, especially an interpreter who is in Cameroon, is actually well-to-do because of the profession? Is there much opportunity in terms of revenue? You want to have your view on that?
Okay, I think to start with interpreting, I think an interpreter can actually make some money, some good amount of money in Cameroon. But this will only be in the case where the interpreter is exposed enough to the opportunities that are out there. Because the interpreters, first of all, are kind of few and the market is large. So with an interpreter, it is easy for them to actually make money and live on the profession here in Cameroon. Considering the fact that, for example, some of our teachers, they make the illustration of the list they can get if they are called at for a program, an official program for the government, that the least amount they get per day is 250,000. So it doesn't matter if you do not have many opportunities or many calls to interpret, so long as you have your stable source of let's say opportunity to interpret, though it might not be often, you would make money from it that you can actually live. Just imagine that in a month you have, let's say each week, let's say you have one session or one event to service as an interpreter. That is 250K a week. The next week 250K, next week 250K, next week 250K. That is 2 million a month. 2 million a month is enough money for a layperson in Cameroon to actually start up or to live on. So I think with interpreting, it is actually something that gives a lot of money and opportunity, not just for the conference interpreting or interpreting under the government. We also have community interpreting. We have escort interpreting. We have interpreting where tourists come from abroad. Let's say a Chinese person is coming from abroad and perhaps wants to visit the mountain and doesn't, let's say, understand English well, or perhaps the people who are kind of the guide do not really understand Chinese. I, as an interpreter, I would have to take that place. So there's just a lot that an interpreter can to have money. Now with translation, I am not too sure, but with my knowledge, I believe that there are many translators out there. And in fact, in Cameroon, everybody believes themselves as translators because so long as you know a little amount of English and a little amount of kind of French, you consider yourself as a translator. So somebody who has a document who needs that document to be translated will see themselves capable of translating that document. That is why we have a lot of erroneous translation flying around the country. So it will be very challenging for a translator to actually live on just translation as a means of finance in the nation. That is why I made mention of freelancing, that the goal of a translator should actually be focused on freelancing, so that even if you don't have the opportunity to work in an organization, you already have that mindset that, okay, you're a freelancer and you have to work so hard to gain job markets online, work so hard to gain people online so that you work, even if there's a lot of competition or the market in the country is not kind of very visible. But with a translator who has that mindset of a freelancer, he or she will be able to live on the profession.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Talking about interpreters, I would like to tell many people that Canada is in lack of interpreters. It's a whole problem right now, be it in the Quebec government, be it in the entire Canada. Recently, they have created a program with, I think, the University of Montreal, where they are, what they want to do is, for people who are already translators, it's a kind of a micro program. I think it's 15 credit, and then they just do a rush-up program on interpretation, and then you just validate the accreditation exam. Once you just pass the accreditation exam, you're an interpreter, which tells you how needy Canada is in terms of interpreters. They are lacking. We feel it every day, and the government is trying to put, but there are no schools. The only school that is doing interpretation in Canada which is really known, is the University of Ottawa. And right now, I think there has been, I think last year or 2 years ago, there were some cuts in terms of training in translation, interpretation. The number is usually less. In Quebec City or in Quebec entirely, I have not seen a school that is dedicated for interpretation. I've not seen. You have translation and micro interpretation and things like that. And those are the people that come out and then become interpreters with just a few courses. Imagine. So it's the market of interpreters is actually huge. We have some of our colleagues who came here who are interpreters, and they're doing well. They've decided to create their companies here, and they're even based around Ottawa. So what they do is they just create their companies, and then people call them every day. So what they tell me mostly is that because they don't want to overstress themselves, what they do is that they schedule within the week 3 days to work. The other 2 days within the week, that's working days from Monday to Friday. They choose, let's say, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and it's okay for them to leave for that week. And imagine if they do that for the whole month, they have enough money for the next 3 months. They don't even need to stress. Just to tell you how huge your market is, and I encourage you guys who are doing interpretation to seize opportunities and go far than what you think you can have. It's actually I'm also praising Cameroon for training interpreters. I think in Africa, Cameroon is the only country that trains more interpreters and translators, because I'm a member of a team working with the Order of Translators, Interpreters, and Terminologists of Quebec. And what we are doing now, because of the crying need for translators and interpreters, we are trying to build a program where we will have to accompany people who have, graduates from outside of Canada who want to come to Canada, or who are even in their countries, but who want to integrate the Canadian market. We're trying to accompany them, work so that they have their equivalences with the Ministry of Migration, and then they get into the order of translators, terminologists, and interpreters, so that by getting into that, they have the leeway to be able to have to win the confidence of companies here in Canada, even if they're out of the country, why not? If Canada is their final destination, it opens the market for them to bring in more interpreters and then to curb that problem that is a crying need for now. So I just wanted to add on that before we go to the next point, so that other people can learn and listen and then think about it twice. So we talked about entrepreneurship. I don't want us to hammer on it much because we have talked lengthily on it. And since you're still in school, you're looking at the vision tomorrow, we will not delve on that. So what I want you to tell me now is, what advice would you give somebody who wants to become a translator, especially the younger ones, and somebody who is already working elsewhere and wants to become a translator? What advice would you give that person?
Okay. Personally, the first thing I want to say is that person should have the passion for the field. You should have the passion for the field, have the love for the field. Because without that passion, without that zeal, without that desire, we are bringing together communities, bringing together cultures. If we don't see that as I have said, it will be very difficult for that person to be able to go through that field or even go through the aspect of preparing themselves through studies to actually be a translator. I will give an example with what I experienced in my degree program. We started about 99 of us, and this year we graduated just 16 of us out of 99. Many went away, many gave up, others are still carrying over courses that they still need to validate. Why? Because that passion was not there. But the moment the passion is there, everything or every challenge that we face, we are going to make sure that we put the effort that is necessary for us to overcome those challenges. Another thing I will say to those who want to enter the market or want to enter this field is that it is hard work, and you should make sure that you have the aptitude and the attitude. When I talk about the aptitude, I am talking about, as I said, hard work, preparing yourself, preparing what you need as a translator, because languages are tool as translators and interpreters. So if your language is not good enough, you have to make sure that it's good. So long as your language is good, your communication skills are good, everything is good, you are going to have ease in the translation field. The only thing you need is just some little advice on how to go about the profession. But if your language is good, if you have that aptitude, and also you have that attitude of a translator, carry yourself as a translator, you actually would surpass all the monumental challenges that you might face. That is what I can advise.
Okay. That is a nice advice. And in anyone who has listened to that surely must have kept the good part of it. Right now, what we will do is to talk about something that is precious and that is touching our profession, be you a translator, be you an interpreter. It's AI, artificial intelligence. What do you think about AI, and how does it relate to our profession?
AI is a common phenomenon that is around the world, and we see that AI affects most, if not all, the professions in the world. And translation and interpreting are one of those professions that this AI innovation affects. What I think about it with what concerns our field, that is translation and interpreting, is that AI helps to facilitate the job for us. It helps to facilitate the job in what way? It is fast. There's one thing we should understand. It is fast. It is accurate. Okay, it's accurate. With humans who might make some errors, even while typing or so, but with the AI, it has been programmed, knowing that this word is supposed to be this word, and there is no way an AI is going to make an error in spelling a word. So it is efficient, it is accurate, that is, it is just, it has so much that it just comes to do to facilitate the job for us. So as an interpreter and a translator, I would say that we should embrace AI. We should embrace AI, because with AI, you can translate documents, but what we'll come in now to do is to actually edit with what concerns the cultural aspect, what concerns the context of the message or the audience, because the machine or AI might not actually know the audience to which the message actually going. So what the translator does or the interpreter does is that we actually bring out this cultural aspect and this context to actually make the message to actually be in synergy or actually relate with the audience. But there's one effect of the AI that I myself, I am scared, but there is no need to be scared so long as you put the effort, is that it will reduce the number of translators. It will reduce the number of translators. Take into consideration the fact that a lot of tasks can be done at once by the machine, seeing that one person making all this in play with AI has already a lot of, let's say, translation tasks to handle. And it will be very difficult now for another translator to have clients. Why? Because one translator is using AI to actually facilitate the job for himself. So it will reduce the number of translators, and also it would only make room for translators who are following the technological advancement of the world right now. A translator who doesn't actually know how to use the AI instrument, who doesn't actually master AI, might actually be lost in the near future. So it will only be those translators who actually master these tools, who actually master the AI, the artificial intelligence, who will actually be able to make waves in the market. Considering the fact that in the AI market already, on the AI aspect, they are already thinking of what they consider neurons, kind of similar with the man, how things are synchronized, how they win, and so on. So it might come a point in time where the machine itself even might start translating documents based on context. Yeah, based on context. So with AI, it will not totally terminate the market, but it will reduce the market for translators. And it's only those translators and interpreters who actually master the tools that concerns artificial intelligence who will be able to make it.
Yeah, it's quite a good analysis you've made there. I will a bit differ with you. I'm 90% okay with what you've said. To me, according to me, I believe that AI will generate a lot of information to process. Okay, that's for translators. And yeah, it will require you to be able to adapt to the evolution of technology to be a real translator, right? If you are not able to cope with technology, you find yourself out. There's no argument about that one. Now, for those who will be coping with that, who will embrace the technology and will go ahead, certainly it reduces, and then on the first thought, it reduces translators, but what you forget to know is that there is much information that will be generated by AI, since automatically the role of a secretary is eliminated because AI types alone, right? It's eliminated. So you would have volumes. What I always tell people is that if today you're translating 2,000 documents per day, okay, in the next future, don't be surprised to hear that you have to translate 5,000 because AI is around and AI will help you, get the base, and you be able to kind of post edit or revise it to make it fluent, to make it match the concept of what you're doing. And AI would have a long way to work on to be able to perfect self with specialized fields like medicines and tech, IT and the rest. But it will come. So for me, the more we create technology, the more we create information. The reason why we created the technology we have now, AI, is because there's a lot of information to process. You look at the internet. Are you able to process the information that you have daily? It's difficult. Unlike before. Before, you had just little information you could process, you could analyze everything that happened during the day. But today, you just see information passing and you can't analyze anything. So I think AI has come to reduce that. So having said that, we will leave it for another discussion, argument, or group discussion to know where we are heading to with this technology. The last question, and which is the least, is yes or no. Are you for, before even I go to that, does AI really affect interpreters? Because will computers speak for us? I want to know that from your perspective, because that's what you want to specialize in. Before we go to the last question, which I will come back to.
All right. AI also affects the field of interpreting. It affects the field of interpreting. But as I said, it would not be able to consider the aspect of context and culture. In fact, it is even more blatant in interpreting. Why? Because while you are interpreting the person who is speaking, you are looking at the facial expression also of that person, the facial expression, the non-verbal cues that the person sends. But a machine will not do that. Even if the machine can listen to what the person is saying and interpret, but the machine will not be able to actually interpret it with that tone or with that message that the person speaking is actually passing. So it would not actually impact interpreting that much, but actually, as I said, with translation, it will come to actually facilitate, and the interpreter can be in the background to actually put in on the aspect of the context, all the other aspects which the machine cannot handle, as AI is actually limited in that aspect.
Okay, yeah, thank you. We close that chapter. You can mute. Okay, thank you. We close that chapter. Like I said, we will have another day to discuss about it. Now, let's look at the last aspect. Yes or no, is Cameroon ready for an order of translators and interpreters? If yes, you give your reasons. If no, you give your reasons.
Okay, I would say no. I would say no. And no, because I think I said this somewhere when I was speaking, that just the idea that the people in Cameroon carry about themselves is already a challenge. Because as I said, almost every Cameroonian considered themselves as translators. They believe that they understand English, they believe that they understand French, and so because they understand English, French, so they call themselves translators or interpreters. And I was very ashamed of one person who exercised as an interpreter in one seminar that I attended. The person was just so not good. So not good. That was not an interpreter, kind of a professional interpreter. The person just said, I understand French, I understand English, so since I understand, there's no need to pay an interpreter, there's no need. So the person thought he could do the job, whereas the job was not well done. So the population needs to understand that translation and interpreting is not just about knowing two languages or being able to understand two languages. It is about being able to communicate between those two languages, being able to actually pass the message fluently. If we can't do that, there is no effective communication. And permit me to say that is one of the reasons why, even throughout history, there has been a lot of chaos, there have been a lot of disagreements because of lack of effective communication. If you can even see in history, when the colonial masters came, they made the chiefs sign treaties and agreements that they didn't understand. So that is already the beginning of failure in the country. And another thing also is about how the translators and interpreters carry themselves, because there are many translators out there and interpreters out there who actually kill the job market. They actually kill the profession itself. An interpreter would go and do a job that is standardized to be paid, let's say for 200,000. The interpreter goes, services that meeting, and agrees to receive 50,000. That is something that really affects the profession as Cameroonians, and that is what we see, because there are many interpreters out there, there are many translators out there, especially translators out there, who are hungry. They don't have the opportunity to always get text or documents to translate. So any document or any opportunity they have and any amount the person or the client gives them, they will accept. And that is already another thing. So I believe Aptitude, an organization in Cameroon, is already trying to do that, but they say a lot to do to be able to standardize the practices in translation in Cameroon, how a translator is to be paid, and just so many things. So for me, I say, with what I see and what I can analyze, it's not a time for Cameroon to actually come up to that.
But unlike we have Aptitude doing the job, but that job has been there for long, and I have not been seeing any changes. What I see is many associations that are coming up and making the task even more difficult. Because if we have one and everybody's unanimous to work with that one, it's good. I mean, there's kind of a progress that is coming. But if there are 2, 3, 4, you know, everyone is going on in dispersed arenas, and that makes it even more difficult. The reason why we are looking at the issue of order is because in its name itself, it's order, meaning putting the order in what you said, because you mentioned that there is a lot of problems going on, even with the concept of people understanding what the profession is all about. So if we are talking about an order, we are talking about a structure that is coming to kind of regularize all the facets of the core. And even for those who think they are translators who are not. So because there will be kind of a principle that we put together, there will be ethical values that have to be validated. I mean, exams that have to be passed. And because before you even call yourself a certified translator, you have gone through a number of scrutiny, which means that not everybody will get in there. Yeah, those who will be out of it would call themselves semi-translators, semi-interpreters, but the people that will really have that, I mean, agencies, companies, and government will have to trust would be those who are affiliated to that order, which is regulated even by the government, because the government has a hand in an order compared to an association where the government doesn't have a hand, and which the government considers as an association like any association. It could be an association of people who are just walking around, you know. So that's another subject of discussion that everyone can look at. And before an order comes into place, is because there's order. Just one thing you need to know. Before an order comes in, is because there has been dispersal. And that is why we have to gather everybody to put order into the thing. And it's a long way to go. It's not a simple thing, putting an order. It takes a lot of things, steps to change things and to punish those who are defaulters, and to protect the public as well, and to protect even the members themselves. So having said that, we will still create time to discuss about this lengthily. And for now, we are done with our question and answer session. So what I want you to do now is to give us a last word before we end this session.
I would want to say that anybody who comes across this should know that translation and interpreting is just a so wonderful field that if you feel interested, don't hesitate don't hesitate, but go into it and just put your focus in it. Make sure that as you come, you are conscious of this, and you also try to look for a solution on how to resolve it. And I think you will be glad for what you must have done for the world at large. And I also want to appreciate the convener of this wonderful tete-a-tete. This is a very good endeavor that will actually go a long way to help the translators and interpreters out there, especially the ones, and also those who are out there who are actually causing havoc. And we just pray that we would join hands together and make this profession be somewhere where many people will come and enjoy the services and be happy in practicing the translation and profession exercise. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the initiative is laudable enough, thanks to the group L'Univers Canadien, where all of us brought up the debate and we came out with this initiative. It was a brainstorm where you have problems, you create solutions. And one of my goals is to ensure that everybody has a voice. And through everybody's voice, we can learn. I mean, I've had a serious discussion with you, and I've allowed you to talk and express yourself. And many people have learned a lot. Maybe yourself, you didn't know that you could go extra miles telling the public things that you know and which people didn't know you would talk about. So I really appreciate your coming, your interest in this project. And it's late in Cameroon. It's about 2 a.m. and you're still there standing and not even feeling asleep. So thank you, and we have the opportunity to talk. So bye-bye. Have a nice time.